Hello, this is Greg Allison with Green Greg's. Coming to you on the 28th of March, 2021. Time on deck is 2100 hours on the dot Central Daylight Time as I record this, not as I post it. Now, the question before you is what is going on with Iran? Why has Iran suddenly got more aggressive? Why is Iran suddenly getting more belligerent? Maybe they have reason, but the fact that they are filling the season is a bit disconcerting in the case of world affairs. Yes, Iran has just attacked last Thursday another Israeli cargo vessel. And this is spreading the tensions between Israel and Iran out to the sea. And it's just furthering the escalation of this cauldron that's just been smoking there in the Mideast. So where's it going to lead? What can happen as a result of all this? The tensions are ratcheting up. As you know, there had been last summer a lot of explosions in Tehran and throughout Iran. And I heard there was another explosion in Tehran I think a couple of days ago, maybe yesterday. These explosions have been going on. There's been Israelis attacking Iranian forces in Syria, especially their proxy forces. And it appears that there may be other calls, such as Israel may have also attacked some cargo ships covertly that belong to Iran. So a lot of stuff's going on, but the tensions are just continuing to ratchet up. And some of it may be testing the current administration. Maybe they're trying to force things along, but we're getting in some really threadbare territories. I've told you many times that the Iranians have spoke of taking out our power grid. And so that we've got a lot of risk with this. I'll come back to all that in a moment. But before we get into this, I'll say, if you've not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe and ring the update notification bell because that's how you get the updates to my videos, because I bring you a lot of videos about prepping, about what's going on in the world, videos like this, which are part of my eyes wide open and head on a swivel news, so that you know what's happening, so that you'll know to prepare and how to prepare, and you can share this with your friends and family so they can get in the mind of preparedness. It is a proposition, my channel, to help you survive, thrive, and stay out of the hive. But along those lines, I also have videos that tell you how to grow your own food, because when it hits the fan, you're going to have other means than just the stuff you stock. But I also cover that too and promote both. Also, I do videos about how to eat from the weeds and the trees, which are free, but you can't quite get enough calories going there and doing that. So, be sure to watch those videos. But you might want to know that there are other alternatives that can make sure you've got the calories, that you've got a regular food supply while you're learning how to eat from the weeds and trees, and when your garden is maybe having down years or you're still learning the ropes. And along those lines, you can go to prepwithgreg.com and you can get this nice 25-year long lasting food. Yes, this is good stuff. It lasts 25 years. It's lightweight because it is freeze dried, which means you can easily bug out with this. You can store this on your shelves and bug in. It is protected against vermin because it has a very good bucket here. I'm not saying they can't eat through plastic, but it's a lot less likely. So it's easy to carry, easy to bug out, lasts 25 years. It's real food. You get breakfast, lunch, and dinner. 2,000 calories a day will make you a winner. Oh yeah, by the way, you can get 2 buckets, which is a 4-week supply for just a little better than 20% off. 1 bucket, a 1-week supply for just a little under 20% off at prepwithgreg.com. That's the specials you can get there. Oh yeah, and you can just take this stuff with you. It's got these nice little pouches in it, which are smaller than the pouches of some competitors, which makes it easier to pack. And by the way, that is 4 servings in that. To give you a comparison, this big old can here is 2 servings in this big hard can. Boom, boom, boom. Take 2 of those to equal that. So what you can do is also go into prepwithgreg.com and click on the My Patriot Supply logo, and there's tons of other prepping supplies there. It helps me, helps my channel, and helps you get ready if you go and check all that out and choose to shop there. Okay, enough said for all that. Let's get into the story. I want to share some articles here to let you see some of the stuff that's being said, some of the stuff going down. We're not going to go into it and read them all verbatim, but we're just going to go through and cruise through the news and see what kind of views uh, is in the news. How things spews. You may not agree with everything here. Iran showing increased nerve as fight with Israel spreads to the sea. Now, this is the times of Israel, and actually, the times of Israel here does, somewhat in this case, pick on Israel too, and with admission of some of the things that Israel's been doing. So I found that kind of interesting from an Israeli magazine or newspaper. But as we see, reports Thursday of another strike. It actually occurred Thursday against a civilian vessel. And war ugly. Okay, I don't want to highlight what I want to highlight. There we go. Well, holy guac and smoke commodity. Okay, so what we're claiming here is this as escalating and fits a pattern that has unfolded in recent months. Iran has taken a more aggressive posture on several fronts, both rhetorically and in its operations, as tensions rose with the new U.S. administration and adversaries in the region. Thursday's attack wasn't the first time Iran struck an Israeli-owned cargo ship. So they're talking about an attack that happened now on February the 26th. I think I may have mentioned this in one of my earlier reviews, talking about hitting the Israeli on MB Helios Ray, which is on its way, I think, to India. But it happened in the Gulf of Oman. So these operations have been carefully planned, much like what they did in 2019, it says. So, but it goes on and on in here in this report. It says Israel had targeted at least 12 ships bound for Syria, though, but then it claims these were in violation of international sanctions, which supposedly gives them the right. But Iran may not see it that way. So there is the tit for tat, and it's escalating. If indeed Israel has been attacking Iranian ships for more than a year, why is it there's Islamic Republic waited till now to respond, essentially? They're talking about setbacks. Of course, I covered on here that Mohsen Fakhrizadeh was taken out by Israeli intelligence. He was a head nuclear scientist from Iran. But Iran has claimed that they would retaliate against these things, also against the U.S. taking out General Soleimani. So all this kind of goes in here. And this also talks about the blast here, the fires and things going on with the Israeli, with the facilities there in Iran, how Iran has set up in Syria to try to open a front against Israel right there in Syria, particularly on the border. See there? Open a new front on Israeli's border. And they're talking about the Golan Heights, and they've not been too very successful with that. So apparently this was saying that basically Israel just got too wrapped up to respond directly, immediately to those ships being hit. I don't know. But, and for other news, this is from the Jerusalem Post, Iran is increasingly obsessed with defeating the Saudis in Yemen. Iran has invested heavily in the war in Yemen with technical know-how and provision of weapons, going to the Houthi rebels there, basically. Talks about how there's been other proxy wars there. So this article goes pretty deep into this conflict. But, there's a whole nother story right there, right? The evergreen. So, and here the Ayatollahs and the Iranians are blaming America for the Saudi support or the Saudi fight against the Houthi rebels. And so they come down here at the end of this article. Iran's messaging is what they think they have put the Saudis into a trap. Yeah, so it goes on down here. From Iran's point of view, Riyadh cannot extradite itself. Tehran wants to hold Saudi Arabia in Yemen and pin it down, and also to test its drones and missiles on Saudi Arabia. The message is clear. Iran hopes this proxy war will provide to be a watershed, and it can use it against, use the same tactics that it used against Yemen, against U.S. and its allies and partners, such as Israel. So I guess what the upshot of this article is, they claim that Iran really sees itself kind of sort of defeating Saudi Arabia essentially in Yemen, and by pinning them down there, and maybe then by extension above and beyond that. We know they have attacked Saudi oil fields with drones, and they've used the Houthi rebels as their proxies for some of that. So I've covered that in previous articles. But look at this. Did I cover this? Iran threatens U.S. Army base and key American general. See, what happened in Iran? Have they been eating their Wheaties the past couple of mornings? Holy smoke, going after Saudi Arabia, Israel, and the United States. Yeah, these guys are feeling it, kind of like China right now. Interesting. And North Korea right now. Suddenly everybody's getting more belligerent. Guys, I tell you, you got to prep. And I tell you, you got to tell your friends to prep. That's why I'm giving you this video. It's not really so much about what's going on here. It's more about you and what you need to know and get ready for. So guys, the Islamic Republic has made threats about an army base located in Washington, D.C., not the ones over in Iran, in Iraq, excuse me. You know, we got bases in Iraq that have been hit with missile fire. But now they're talking about one in Washington, D.C. and against Army Vice Chief of Staff Joseph Martin. Army Vice Chief of Staff, General Joseph Martin. And so I don't know what the threats are against him, but suppose against this naval base, they're talking about taking on USS Cole type attacks, which means they would have little groups in there with motorboats full of explosives going in, which means they have sleeper cells in the United States to fight kind of stuff off. I've told you about these sleeper cells before. If they pull something out, if they pull something like that off, that's going to be, guys, that's an act of war. I mean, how do you attack a U.S. military base in America, even with what looks like terrorist type attacks, and expect you're going to get away with it? Remember 9/11? Remember a couple of towers fell and 2 countries fell as a result of that? You know, both Iraq and Afghanistan. Well, pretty much. So, guys, you know, the United States would respond pretty forcefully if you started attacking multiple attacks inside the United States on our ships in the U.S. Naval base. I don't think that would go unanswered. But the fact that they're thinking this stuff, so they're still wanting to retaliate against the taking out of General Qasem Soleimani, and so they're feeling, you know, discredited, and they have not done anything yet in that regard. Their attempts, you know, firing missiles at our military bases in Iraq, especially when you know, a few soldiers got concussions, but no one died, didn't seem to answer the bell for them. But why are they doing this? Well, hey, maybe they got a new partner. Look at this, China and Iran signed a new 25-year cooperation agreement. And according to this reports here, our relations with Iran will not be affected by the current situation, but will be permanent and strategic, Wang said. And this same Wang is the one who supposedly warned the United States, I think I covered this in a recent video, that Iran has new developments in their nuclear program, and that we need to go over there and start negotiating. They want to right off. This is the same Wing that said that. I think I may have covered that. I've covered so much material sometimes I'm not sure what I've covered in the video, what I had. This project aims to significantly expand China's economic and political influence and has raised the concerns in the United States. Yeah, this is part of their Belts and Roads initiative. Yeah. So we see what's happening here. I'm not going to go into this article any further. But as you well know, Iran has loaned massive amounts of money to the Iranian regime there, much to the chagrin of the people of Iran, who don't want to be beholden to China. They're not too thrilled about that at the public level, from what I hear. But the Ayatollahs see this a way is to maintain and extend their power, because their power base is a bit shaky. And they got egg on their face, considering they've had all kind of explosions going on at home. Well, it hasn't escaped the U.S. that, hey, the U.S. might want to do something. So here's this big article. These are the weapons the United States or America would use to launch an invasion of Iran. Well, I don't know about an invasion of Iran. An invasion of Iran is pretty optimistic. It's not like Iraq. Iran has 610,000 active duty troops and 1,050,000 reserves that are considered to be highly trained and immediately available to be mobilized, if they can just call them up real fast, according to some sources. So it's thought that Iran has the most powerful military in the Mideast, in the region, in those regards. That may not have as many of the ginormous in-powered bang bangs, the big ones, the mushroom cloud generators, if you will. But as Israel is reported to have, some people say Iran don't have any. Some think they do have a couple. Maybe I'll bring Dr. Peter Vincent Pry on my channel because he's just come on an article to that effect, and I've mentioned that previously in other videos myself. So, in conventional war, America would be able to win for certain. Really, maybe, but go in is a whole different matter. So I'm not going to read this article. I'm going to kind of just take you down to it. I'll show you some of the systems. Let's start out with a B-2 stealth bomber, the F-22 Raptor. This is just kind of a grocery list of the systems we have. The GBU 57AB, massive ordnance penetrator. This is the guy that can take out bunkers, right? Drop deep. It's a Moab, apparently. So amphibious combat vehicles. Now that's talking about landing troops. It's literally talking about invasions. So lasers. Yeah, Battlestar Galactica. The Death Star. Yeah. Let's see. I don't think we quite got that kind of firepower. Oh, the Gates looking kind of drunk there. What is going on? Okay, this article continued, but not with more weapon systems. So I talked about, let me stop the share for a second. I'm gonna come back. I talked about Iranian sleeper cells and the significance of that. Back a few years back, somebody told the head of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard that you can just take out 9 key substations in the US and bring down their entire power grid. For that number had come out, but made it public. Some people got on me for saying that. One, I'm not telling you which ones it is, and 2, that knowledge was already publicly released, and they already know it. Because the response of the general, the head of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, is 9. We already got sleeper cells there. It's targeted 20. We got 20 targeted. That's what he said. That was his response. Obviously, they have sleeper cells here because that's what they're planning with this attack on the U.S. military naval base here. They tried at one point to assassinate a Saudi representative in Washington D.C. So, yeah, they can get aggressive. They got some things to play. So the main thing, if they get into it with us, and if you just saw those articles about U.S. invasion forces, what we could take in and invade them with, then maybe they would consider preemptive action, and maybe they would try to take down our grid. That's the way they could hurt us the most, is taking our grid down. But I don't think they would do anything in isolation, because they know if they get into it with us by themselves, they're going to be in a world of hurt. But back off and look at the big picture. What's happening? China is really seeming to chomp at the bit to take Taiwan. North Korea is rattling the sabers pretty hard too. North Korea, Iran, China. If all 3 of these start making moves, maybe Russia, if they all make moves all at once, then the United States is overwhelmed. We can't handle all of these areas at the same time. It's although the generals are now beginning to see this and have started practicing simulations for it. That's the news. They've actually looked at this. I saw some stuff on that recently. They are actually now planning simulations and war games to be able to deal with multi-theater, multi-point activities like this popping around the world. Because you know what? They're saying what I've been saying. I've been talking about this, and now they're seeing it, and they're reacting to it, and that's good. And probably been seeing it all along, just haven't been saying it. But now they are going to be taking action. Will it be soon enough? Will they be prepared enough? One way to prevent a war is to be strong enough that nobody wants to hit you, basically. And if they hit you, you're going to hurt them. Or if they try to take a bite out of you, they're not going to profit very well, because you got too many quills on your back and you look like a porcupine. So a lion may not want to be wrapping his tongue around you, teeth, whatever, because you're just going to hurt too much. So these are all things to take into account. That porcupine strategy is what we've suggested for the nation of the Republic of China, known by most of you as Taiwan, which is the China that predates the mainland China's People's Republic of China government. How can it be a breakaway when it predates them and it's just living in exile from the insurgency that ran them out? Oh well. Yeah, China wouldn't like that policy. Yeah, so I'm going to show you. I'm going back to share just 1 second here. To go to a lighter note is those ads are pretty funny. So I think I started out, I said, hey, right now we're under the light of the warm moon. Did I say that? Did I mention it? Maybe I didn't. Right now, with this full moon that's shining tonight, here out of my worm farm is known as, yes, the worm moon. And I will return to selling worms quite soon. It'll be at www.greengregs.com. Not yet. Give me just a few weeks, 3 weeks or 4 weeks, and I have to see how the postal department can handle shipping. So, I might be a little timid at it at first, but I really hope to get this swinging again. Everybody wants them. Well, not everybody, but I'm getting inundated by requests. Anyway, let's stop this share. The worm moon. So here's the thing, guys. Nothing may come of any of this. It's possible this is just all a lot of kabuki dancing and huffing and puffing and beating of the chest and posturing for political gamemanship and advantage. But ships are being taken out. Bases are being hit. Rockets are flying. People are suffering as a result of all this gamemanship, whatever it is. It could escalate. It could escalate. Now, Iran is feeling like China has their back a little bit. Maybe is this why they're getting more aggressive? They got a little more confidence. They feel like their time is short. What's happening here? I don't know. Not saying that there hadn't been called for tit for tat. I mean, in the Israeli Times, it was saying, "Hey, we hit them here, we hit them there, we hit them. Why took them so long to hit us back?" So, but now they are hitting back. So now it will escalate. Well, that's nothing. You keep hitting on somebody enough, and yeah, they're going to hit you back sooner or later, usually. So it's not a good situation. None of this is good. But the thing is that in conflicts like this, it can affect us here. And the thing I've talked about the most, the impact that would affect us the most, is loss of the power grid. A lot of you said, Greg, I'm good. I live up in the woods. I'm totally off grid. Yeah, that's good. You should be. We all should be. But 2 things you got to take into account. One is the hordes coming out of the cities like fire ants out of an ant mound that somebody kicked when they start getting hungry. 2, maybe you're far enough away from them, they won't get to you, but 2, the nuclear power plants. When the lights go out and the generators quit running and they can't get the fuel to them because the fuel pumps are electrical powered and the spare parts, the supply chain's breaking down for the trucks to haul them, and the monetary system's breaking down. Sooner or later, the backup fuel that keeps those fuel pools cool, it's not going to be there. Then you got a problem. And that problem, you're going to feel it. So we hope that don't happen. That's why I'm so involved in these power grid defense activities. I'm a member of 2 committees, national level committees, 1 local committee, and I've chaired 2 conferences on power grid defense. And I'll bring you videos on that topic too. That's one of the top things I worry about here. It may not be the only thing to worry about. Yeah, we could have economic collapse. We could have natural disasters. We could have just the war itself. There's plenty of things that might get us, plagues, pandemics, zombie apocalypse. You might have to redefine the word zombie, and we may already be under that. Whatever you want to call a zombie. But there's also hope for the future, because look, I come in here and I also tell you things you can do. Not only prepare, a lot of my videos, I talk about how you can get involved politically or what you can do personally. We got a little survival community thing going now. I've got an organization, the Freedom Restoration Foundation. So I walk the walk. I don't just talk the talk. And I'm trying to get you guys involved. So if you're interested in the Freedom Restoration Foundation, hey, we're online now. You can check it out, freedomrestorationfoundation.org. You can email us. But freedom, if you want to join it, freedom in the subject line. Info at freedomrestorationfoundation.org. If you're interested in survival tries, because the lone wolf is not going to make it, then email me, same address, and put tribe in the subject line. You know, communities, tribes, I don't know what's the best word for it, but I'll leave it up to each group to determine their way on that. I'm not here to dictate anything. I'm just being a facilitator for the formation of these groups. Anyway, so excuse me, spring's in the air along with the worm moon. So my friends, say, Greg, I'm happy the worm moon is shining on the worm farm, and then I'll know you watched this far. And with that, I'm going to say thank you for watching.